Hello and welcome to Latest TV News. My name is Jacob Panons, I'm a reporter for Sussex World, and I'm going to be speaking with sports reporter Sam Morton about Brighton's first ever European win. But first, here are your top stories from across the county. Homes were evacuated in Hastings town centre over the weekend as the town was hit by flooding. Priory Meadows shopping centre was also closed off following torrential rain in the Hastings area on Friday night and Saturday morning. The fire service was out pumping water as it gushed up from drains in South Terrace and the shopping centre itself. Councillor Judy Rogers had urged residents and visitors to avoid the town centre as large areas of Alexandra Park were flooded too. There appeared to be less serious flooding in Orr, Hollington and an area of Fairlight. 2 hotels in Eastbourne will stop being used to house asylum seekers, the government has announced. The properties will be part of the first wave of 50 hotels across the country to stop taking migrants because of the impact on Eastbourne's visitor economy, according to MP Caroline Ansell. Mrs Ansell said she spoke to the Immigration Minister, Robert Jenrick, to go through the details and has worked with the council. A planning application has been submitted to build a new world-class £11 million arts, education and cultural hub near Eastbourne. Plans to develop Black Robin Farm on the downland above Eastbourne will soon be considered by the South Downs National Park Authority. If the plan is approved, visitors will be able to engage in the cultural heritage of the rolling chalk downland through public artworks, with exhibitions, creative activities and courses, artist and maker events, and a locally sourced food and drink offer. Eastbourne Borough Council leader Stephen Holt said he felt like the town was within touching distance of something really momentous. The application follows the council's successful £19.8 million bid to the government's Levelling Up Fund. Eastbourne International Airshow will return in 2024 to mark its 30th anniversary year. Eastbourne Borough Council has given the green light for the annual airshow to return from August 15th to 18th after the event enjoyed another successful year whilst also running on a cost-neutral basis. After launching in 1993 and becoming one of the UK's largest free seafront air shows, the event took a 2-year break during the pandemic, meaning 2024 will be its 30th year. Airborne fans are being encouraged to support the 30th year by donating now at saveairborne.com to support flying display costs and ensure the show continues in the future. Now let's hear from sports reporter Sam Morton as he gives us an insight into Brighton's historic 2-0 victory in the Europa League against Dutch giants Ajax. So Sam, their first ever European win, you were there in the ground. What was the atmosphere like?
It was amazing. It was an excellent day, really. I think Brighton went into the game knowing they had to win to keep their hopes really alive of progressing through to the next round after a defeat against Athens and a draw at Marseille. They really needed to beat Ajax, and they were playing against a team that were well out of form, right down the bottom of the Eredivisie, and completely unlike the Ajax team that we've come to know over the years. It was a difficult game. I think one that Brighton. It was interesting to see how they get on. Obviously, being favourites again at Europe like they were against Athens, but they were fantastic right from the off. They dominated the game, dominated possession, and they made it look really easy. To be honest, I think it could have been more, but they were ruthless when they had the chances, and there were some great performances throughout the pitch, and they really did make it look very easy and got the win they desperately needed. And the atmosphere was great. The fans were right up for it, and we're delighted that they got the win. And I think the Ajax fans initially were quite loud, but they quickly went very quiet. And I think you kind of feel sorry for them. I think they must just not know what's going on with the team. But Brighton took full advantage of that and really did look by far the better team on the night.
And how did it sort of feel? I mean, it's a historic night for Brighton, really. I think it's a game that people are going to be telling their grandchildren about, their first ever European win, and also to have that against Ajax is pretty phenomenal. Yeah,
no, it's fantastic. No matter what form Ajax are in, they're still a big name, and it will go down in the record books as Brighton beating Ajax. And I think there was a tweet from Ajax for 2-0 saying 2-0 Brighton, Ansu Fati, and it was just almost like a crazy thing to see, really. I think how have we got to this position where Brighton are in Europe with Ansu Fati, a Barcelona player, beating Ajax 2-0? It's just incredible, and one that the fans will be talking about for years. And I just really hope they can back that up again when they travel to Amsterdam next week and get another win, which I think they really can with Ajax playing the way they are. There's no reason why they can't get back-to-back wins against them, and they'll be fully in charge of the group and able to get through to the next round.
And what do you think Brighton did different against Ajax that they failed to do against Marseille and Athens?
I think a bit more experience, I think, a bit more know-how. They've had 2 previous games against Athens and Marseille. They really took that on board, I think, and they were so much improved from previous games, really, and they were so much better defensively as well. I think, and obviously, I know we've said they've come up against a side completely devoid of confidence, and you really saw that in the Ajax side. There wasn't really a lot of threat from them, really. But I think Brighton still had to be alert. I think when after Fatty got his goal, and he had another chance just moments later, Ajax went up the other end and hit the post. So I think it was one of the few moments where they could have been hit on the break, but they were just alert to everything. And Van Hecker was superb. Lewis Dunk, as always, was fantastic. And they just snuffed out everything, really, that Ajax posed against them. And that's not something we've really seen this season. I think we've seen them concede at least 1 in every game. So it was so important to get that clean sheet, I think. And yeah, a real bonus to the night. And they really did learn from the mistakes, I think, against Athens and Marseille, where they did concede sloppy goals.
Yeah, I mean, the clean sheet was astonishing, really. You know, Brighton don't get clean sheets, really. No. So, yeah, to get it against the Dutch Giants was amazing. And how important do you think those points are as well? Because if Ajax had won, those 3 points had gone their way, it wouldn't have looked great for Brighton in the table, would it?
No, exactly. It was so important they got that win, really. I think anything else would have been a poor result. In terms of the group, in terms of how bad form Ajax have been in, they really did need to get that win. But that doesn't take away from the achievement, I don't think. It's still fantastic that they managed to do that. And as I say, really hope they can go back that up again in Amsterdam and hopefully get another win.
And who are your standout performers against Ajax?
Ansu Fati was brilliant. I think he's the best performance in a Brighton shirt. He's really settling into the team now. I think he's adjusting to De Zerbi's style of play. I think De Zerbi made the point at the end of the game that he didn't play a lot of football last season, so he's really starting to adjust to that, playing more frequently under a new manager in a new country. So it was never going to be a quick transition, and he's taken his time, but he's really now starting to show his class. And as I say, he could have scored 2 goals. There's a chance just after his goal that nearly went in, powerful shot that went just over. Adingra was fantastic. It was a lovely assist for the second goal. Outside the boot, chip into the box. Fatty took it brilliantly and slotted it away. But it was a fantastic assist, and Adingra was class. And I mentioned that Van Hecker was brilliant. Really impressive kind of performance. Accompanies Dunk perfectly in that back line, I think, and that can be a really good partnership going forward. But yeah, all over the pitch, and Billy Gilmore again was brilliant. So yeah, difficult to pick out any poor performers really from that night.
And obviously we're halfway through the group stage now, 3 games in, we've played 2 home games, 1 away game. So 1 home game remains against Marseille. It's going to be a tricky game. Are you worried that Brighton might struggle to progress with a tough run of games?
I think they're in a good position now. They've got that win, and they can really take that forward. I think get at least a draw, a win in Amsterdam, home against Marseille. I think they can really do well now. I think they've got that backing of that win, and they've got that confidence, and we can really take that forward. And now the players kind of have a bit more experience at the halfway point. They've kind of faced the opponents. They maybe know what to expect a little bit more. And De Zerbi will maybe know what to expect, and he can adjust his team accordingly. I think they've got the players to definitely do damage against Marseille and Athens and Ajax as well. So yeah, I think absolutely they're in a good position now, and it's great to see and exciting that they could potentially get through to the knockout rounds.
Yeah, and are there any teams that are standing out to you that you'd maybe like Brighton to draw if they were to progress past the group stage?
Well, Leverkusen potentially. I think they look good. I think another tough team, a different country that they haven't played in yet this season. I think any of them really. I think there's no poor result really for Brighton to get, and it'd just be fantastic to get anyone in the knockout rounds and have the best chance of progressing even further. But it's just, I think the fans must be giddy at the prospect of even being there. I think at the moment it's incredible, and long may it continue really. And the longer they're in the competition, the better.
Yeah, definitely. And where do you sort of fall on that line between getting teams that are easier to beat, that you've got a better chance of progressing, or playing teams, like Ajax, playing the big names that are going to get you excited? Where do you sort of fall on that?
I think for Brighton, it kind of works both ways. I think they seem to perform better against the top teams, almost. I think obviously we saw against Athens where they were the overwhelming favourites to win, when really they shouldn't have been. First ever game in Europe, lots of pressure that comes with that. So I think playing against a supposed weaker team doesn't always favour Brighton. Like we saw against Fulham at the weekend, where they were the favourites and didn't quite come away with a win. So I feel like playing the top teams almost plays into their hands a little bit more. Supposed maybe a little bit of the underdogs, play on the counter. I can really hit teams when they least expect it, I think, and that really plays into Brighton's hands. So, yeah, I think the better the team, the better, I think. And obviously just having those massive games, being able to maybe travel to other countries in Europe is just an added bonus, really.
Yeah, it's a fantastic experience for the fans. But like you say, Brighton seem to perform quite well against teams that are quite possession-based. Make sure you tune into part 2 as we'll be discussing the Seagulls' 1-1 draw at home against Fulham and their upcoming trip to Everton. Welcome back to part 2 of latest TV news. I've got sports reporter Sam Morton with me here, and we're going to be talking about Brighton's 1-1 draw with Fulham, as well as their upcoming fixture against Everton. So, Sam, what did you make of Brighton's performance on the weekend against Fulham?
Yeah, difficult result. I think it was a game that Brighton were expected to win. They started brilliantly, dominated the first half. Evan Ferguson scored a lovely goal. I really feel they needed to get a second goal whilst they were on top and really build on that, take the game away from Fulham, really, and they didn't quite manage to do it. And once you don't extend your advantage, when one goal lead is always a dangerous score, and Fulham were always going to have a better spell. And in the second half, they did come back and they managed to score a cracking goal for João Palhinha. It was a really good, well worked goal. And then Brighton kind of with a better team even after that. I think it was, as De Zerbi said post-match, Brighton were the better team probably for 85 minutes of the match. So it's incredibly frustrating for them. They didn't come away with a win. And it's a number of games now where they haven't won in the league, where they obviously have had a good result in Europe. But De Zerbi said after that he really wanted to follow that up in the league. So I'm sure he'll be really annoyed. I think that he didn't get that win in the league to end that kind of winless run that they're on at the moment. But I think performance is encouraging. I think it's better defensively. I think, obviously, as I say, they were on top completely for most of the game, and it was kind of a lapse in communication. A little bit of an issue, I think, with Belieber that De Zerbi pointed out, where he didn't feel comfortable in that moment, and he lost the ball and they conceded. So really unfortunate in that sense that maybe one lapse of communication cost them dear. But yeah, I think the performance is encouraging, and hopefully they can bounce back really quickly against Everton.
Yeah, I guess with Brighton, you can't win them all, but they would be going into that Fulham game seeing that as 3 points they should be getting if they want to end up near the top end of the table again this season. But like you said, they got caught out there for the Palhinha goal. But I guess that's just the risky run when you want to play it out from the back. Sooner or later, you're going to get caught out. That's just the law of averages. Yeah,
exactly. And obviously we saw it go terribly wrong against Aston Villa. But I think it's a different kind of game, really, where Brighton at home against a team they really were expected to beat. And yeah, as I say, it was going really well. The style of play was working. Got a great goal for Evan Ferguson. I think they just needed to get that second or third goal, and it would have just killed the game off there. Yeah. But Fulham were just gaining in confidence as whilst the game was still 1-0. Fulham were kind of encouraged they'd be able to nick something, and they did. But obviously there was obviously controversy with the goal scorer, which obviously fans were not happy about. But at the end of the day, I think every team has had their fair share of it. So you need to kind of maybe put that to the back of minds and try and learn from the mistake they did make.
Yeah, and what did you think about that? Obviously, for the viewers at home who don't know, Palhinha went in and it looked like he caught the face of Pascal Gross with his elbow. Do you think that was a red card?
I do, yeah. I think he should have been sent off for it. I think it was violent conduct, and we've seen players sent off for that, or even not.
A lot less, yeah.
A lot less. So, yeah, I think definitely he was fortunate not to be sent off, and just added insult to injury, really, that he was the man to equalise. And just De Zerbi was asked about it post-match, but he didn't want to dwell on it. He said he wanted just to concentrate on the football, and but he probably was seething inside, I imagine. But he didn't want to comment on that, understandably. I think trying to avoid a fine. But yeah, it was really frustrating, really, and it always seems to be the way that if someone's been really fortunate to avoid a red card, that they then have a big say in how the game ends. And yeah, so frustrating in that sense. It in my eyes was definitely a red card, and it should have been pulled back.
Yeah, obviously, and he had a fantastic game as well. I was seeing on Twitter, a lot of Fulham fans were saying he's man of the match. They really liked the way he played, and yeah, just kind of adds insult to injury when you think he could have gone off the pitch a lot earlier. Yeah. But sort of on a more positive note for Brighton, Evan Ferguson scored again, and it was a fantastic finish just to get it and just effortlessly just bend it into the far corner. It looks like he's playing FIFA on easy mode or something sometimes.
Yeah, no, he's obviously entered a mini goal drought, and he wasn't at his best, and he's been playing half a game, then being substituted or coming on late in games, and he's not really been himself in recent games. So it was great to see that he still hasn't lost that incredible ability to find the net, and he's still incredibly young, and it's just crazy how he has that talent really that we don't really see very often, and it's such an eye and knack for goal really. And it was a fantastic finish, and hopefully that will kick him on and he can go on a bit of a scoring run again, because since that hat-trick against Newcastle, as I say, we've not seen the best from him. So hopefully he can kickstart his season. But I think you're going to expect that for someone of that age, and he's still adjusting to life as a Premier League footballer on a regular basis. So it's great for Brighton that he's found the net again.
So it's great to see Evan Ferguson score again. But Brighton are quite lucky that they've got players like Welbeck, and they've got players like João Pedro, who's been scoring quite a bit in the Europa League.
João Pedro's been fantastic for Brighton. Really works hard for the team. He's got a couple of goals in the league, but he's been great scoring form in the Europa League. Obviously 4 goals already. He was fantastic against Ajax, and we could really see partnership building with Matoma in that game, and that was great to see. And he's been brilliant. Obviously, it's a shame to see Danny Welbeck get injured recently as well, so he'll be out for a little while, I think. So really important that João Pedro stays fit. I think he'll start to get more minutes and rotate with Evan Ferguson until Danny Welbeck's back. But I think they've got such strength and depth in those attacking areas this season, when obviously everyone's fit. So that's great for Brighton and can really help in those competitions. But I think they definitely have struggled to play their best every game. I think they were fantastic against Ajax, and then maybe struggled a little bit against Fulham, where they obviously dominated the game but couldn't quite finish the game off. And we've seen that a couple of times this season where they've been superb one game and then not at their flow and best the next game. And that's just something they're going to have to learn and to get used to, playing games so frequently. And De Zerbi obviously said they're not quite ready for that yet, but I think they'll probably be focusing on that and trying to get fitness levels to their absolute best as well.
Yeah, I guess that happens with any team who's in the Premier League and also playing the Europa League. That Thursday, Sunday game fixtures can be really tricky. We've seen West Ham struggle, and for example, they lost against Everton on the weekend, and it looked as if maybe they had a bit more energy in the tank. They might have beaten Everton, and Everton left 1-0 winners, and that kind of leads us into Brighton's next fixture. It's away at Goodison Park against Everton, who are coming off that win. How do you see that game going?
A difficult game. Everton in good form, a great win against West Ham, and then obviously a bit of a kryptonite team for them last season. Obviously that crazy 5-1 win at the Ajax. So a really difficult game. Obviously Goodison Park is never an easy place to go to, and Sean Dyche obviously sets his team up really well. So a tough game, really tough game for Brighton, and one that they need to win really to end that winless run they've got at the moment. And to really stake a claim for the top 5 or top 6 again this season, because Aston Villa looks so strong. I think Aston Villa have just gone from strength to strength. Players are just doing amazing for them, and Emery is doing very well. So a tougher season really in that sense to finish as high as it did last season. So I think these kind of games Brighton need to win, I think, and it's not going to be easy, as I say, against a well drilled and defensively organised team in Everton. So it'll be interesting to see how they get on.
Yeah, definitely. I was at the West Ham Everton game on the weekend, and Everton defensively really, really impressed me. I mean, they didn't give West Ham anything to work with. I mean, attackingly, they didn't throw a lot forward, but we know how Sean Dyche's teams play, and that's something that Brighton are going to be prepared for. But like you said, in the first half as well, Brighton seem to play better against teams who want the ball, and they struggle against teams who will sit back and say, play against us then. Do you think that's going to be really tough for them? Do you think Brighton can and will win at Goodison Park?
I think they definitely can win. I think where they will is obviously a different story. You just never know how the game's going to go. I think they need an early goal. I think the longer the game is maybe 0-0, or if they concede early, because that was the problem last season when they conceded so early on to Toure at the Ajax. It then just played into Everton's hands where they could sit back and then hit Brighton on the counter. So you want to kind of avoid a repeat of that and to get an early goal themselves, and then you have to bring Everton out and you can then maybe get a second goal. But as I say, that's a lot easier said than done against a team that's obviously on form. A great win against West Ham, so they're going to be confident going into it.
And like you said, points are going to be so important because, you know, traditionally we've got this traditional big 6, and then you've got Newcastle joining that now to make it 7, and then you've got Aston Villa who are looking fantastic in the league as well. That's 8. So you're thinking if Brighton don't start picking up points, they might not get into Europe again next season.
Exactly. Yeah, they need to pick up the points and get their form back going in the leagues. But it's tough, isn't it? Because they're not used to playing in Europe and the Premier League, obviously 2 games a week, every week pretty much.
That is everything from us here at Latest TV News. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to read more stories from across the county, please visit Sussex World online.